Welcome to the Versa Business Tips Podcast. My name is Shaheen Masloum, your founder and host of Versa Business Systems. We're here with Christian Jack today. He's a man of many skills, but sales and helping businesses scale is primarily what he focuses on. He's the founder and CEO of Sales Dojo. Thanks for joining us today, Christian.
Thanks for having me, Shaheen.
Absolutely, brother. So my favorite topic, man, sales. For those out there that don't know who you are, tell us a little bit about yourself and what your company does.
Oh, man. So my name is Christian Jack. Like you said, I'm the owner and CEO of the Sales Dojo. We essentially help a few different people, but it's all centered around sales. So we help salespeople who want to get better at sales. There's a few CEOs and company owners who are in there as well, just looking to get better at influence in general, structuring deals, however you want to use influence in your own life. And then we also work with businesses for placing sales reps and sometimes running teams. That's a bit more selective, though, so fewer people get in there.
Awesome. So you can even help businesses build out a sales team and help them with staffing that as well.
You got it.
Very cool, man. So when you're consulting with businesses, where do you think most businesses are failing when it comes to their sales process?
I think a lot of people, rightly so, think that the right person will change the game for them. And usually people are right about that. However, the right person doesn't usually come without the right systems and the right support.
Absolutely.
Right. And anybody who's worth their salt knows what they're looking for. And usually somebody who's just thinking, I just need like an A player is not looking for the right thing. Right. It's kind of like the lead from the front type of thing. You can't lead people to where you haven't been yourself. And if your business isn't like set up properly, then an A player isn't going to want to come work for you anyway.
Absolutely. So obviously getting your sales process and systems down, support down, so that way, and I think a lot of businesses fail when they're getting all these leads and they're not converting. And it's like, well, you got to figure out your sales process first before you start spending a ton of money on leads. It's like, it's backwards, right?
Yeah.
So being in sales, how long have you been in sales now?
A few years, coming up on like 3.5.
Okay. So you've been in business for 3.5 years. Why, like, no offense, I've been in business for 20 years. I don't teach people how to sell, right? Like, how did you see so much success in sales? Like, what was obviously that's your whole business is evolved around sales. So you had to be a hell of a sales guy yourself. What made you different? And, how did you end up pivoting to, hey, I'm a hell of a salesman. I'm making a ton of money selling. Now I want to teach other people how to do it.
Well, I'll tell you, Shaheen, I am not, like you said, I'm not the guy that's been in sales the longest, for sure.
Right.
I'm a young buck, and I get it. The way that I made it to really the top of my industry pretty quickly is like two main things, right? Number one is the thing that everybody says is like, just work hard and just do the same thing over and over and just not get bored of it.
Right.
That's a big one. And then number two is just having mentors along the way that pointed me in the right direction, right?
Right.
I've made an absurd amount of money in sales, but what's interesting is I actually haven't. And it's because I've reinvested everything into mentors.
Right.
Like as an example, I don't know if I'm allowed to say his name, but big guy whose initials are AH. I paid for a one-on-one when I was in Vegas. And so I just am constantly investing with people that have been there, have done that have the experience. Because that's really the only way to learn in life, right? There's absolutely no way in my 80 years of my life that I'm going to gain all the wisdom that there ever was in the entire history of the world.
100%.
But, somebody who has gained, 30 years of experience, I can pay them to distill down that 30 years of experience into an hour with me. Yeah. And I just do that over and over until I've gotten to the point where I've lived a million lives, right? It's like Thomas Edison went through 10,000 ways on how to not make a light bulb, and then he found the one. And then society paid him for those 10,000 ways to not make it, and that one, those years and years of experience. Yeah. And so now we can just make a light bulb, but we didn't have to go through the time. Yeah. It's exactly what I've done and what I've applied. And so I am proudly one of the top 1%ers in the main space that I come from is high ticket. So
Right.
I'm used to selling very expensive things to average people, and then I've gone upwards and sold $500,000 plus packages, et cetera, and B2B type deals, and
Right.
done a few mergers and fun things.
Very cool. So at the end of the day, when it comes down to selling really anything, what are the biggest problems or holes that you're seeing in businesses sales process?
It's different for everybody. I
Right.
think I think the biggest thing is just not understanding your specific business.
Right.
And it's funny because everybody thinks that their business is different. And in
Right.
some ways it is, in some ways it isn't. But usually people get those backwards, right? They think their business is unique because of this one thing. When in reality, that's not why at all. That's the same as everybody else. And
Right.
so people start looking at their business in the wrong way.
Yeah.
And ultimately that leads them to misinterpret key data points that will just completely skew their decision making. Right?
Right.
If you're looking at the wrong numbers, or if you're interpreting them the wrong way, then the decisions that you make based off of those are going to be completely ass backwards. And so
Absolutely.
you end up just driving your business into the ground while you're trying to scale it, and obviously that's just not.
Yeah, yeah. So it sounds like you're saying that the biggest issue is realizing that your business isn't different, but the way you do things and your process is what needs to make it unique, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Um, Now, would you say that sales has changed? The way that you can sell people now has changed significantly from the way you used to be able to sell people, say, even 10, 15 years ago.
For sure. For sure. I think people are always the same. And so that will stay the same. Like just understanding, um, there's like 7 real key businesses, if you will, that will always make money, right?
Right,
Like one of them is helping people who don't have a lot of money get money quickly,
right,
right? Another way is to make women feel wanted. Another way is to make men feel masculine. Like there's a lot of different ways that are
right.
just timeless ways to make money,
Yeah,
and timeless ways to influence people, and timeless wants and desires that people have. But then also, people are constantly learning. People are constantly growing. They're constantly gaining new experiences, including the experience of being sold to. Right? People are
yeah,
sold to every single day, all day, while they're driving, while they're on their computer. A Google ad pops
absolutely.
up literally all the time. And so, really, personally, I think sales is more about breaking the mold than anything else. Right?
Hmm.
Um, if you'd like, I can go into a little bit of that, but like the biggest thing is, imagine like you're walking down the road, Shaheen. I'm sure where you live, you got like a sidewalk down outside your house. You're walking down. It's nighttime. You've walked down that road a million times,
Right.
uh, and so you're used to what happens. But then maybe you pass by a bush that you've passed by a million times before, don't think anything of it, and there's like a rustle in the bush. Where does all of your focus and attention go?
Right.
It's to that bush, right?
Right.
But it's it's calling attention to something else that's out of the ordinary. Otherwise, your brain is just going to run this script over and over. Like, have you ever
Right.
been driving and maybe it's late at night, you're tired, and you just notice that you're finally home? Like,
Right.
you don't remember the drive, but
Yeah.
somehow
Oh
you
yeah.
got home. It's your
Uh-huh.
brain running scripts. Our brains love patterns. They love predicting things in order to conserve energy. It's a survival instinct. And so, if you're just selling the exact same way as everybody else, people will recognize that pattern and they will
Yeah.
literally tune it out. Their brain won't even remember it. And so
100%.
nowadays it's really about just like breaking the mold more than anything else. And
Right.
then of course playing into those natural human desires and instincts that I kind of mentioned
Yeah.
earlier.
Yeah, absolutely. So focusing on obviously the psychological people, what makes people tick, what makes people make decisions, whether it's an emotional decision or a strategic decision, right?
I
Um,
mean, everything is strategic and emotional at the same time, right? Like
right,
people,
true.
you've probably heard people buy with emotion and justify with logic, right?
Yeah.
Like no matter what it is, ultimately everything does boil down to the emotion. Otherwise, humans would not do the things that they do.
Yeah.
Now, there are some people who make less emotional decisions, because they've made enough emotional decisions to where now they know how to take the emotion out of it a little bit more. But
Right.
even still, like I've sold some whale clients, and this is a golden nugget for anybody who deals with whales, like people who spend an absurd amount of money on something, or if you're doing like an acquisition, whatever it might be. Usually the whale clients, one big nugget is when you're selling to them, whales love the trophy wall. I call it the trophy wall because, like, if you think of a professional golfer, somebody who's won the PGA Tour a bunch of times, whatever,
Right.
like on their wall, they've got all their trophies, right?
Yeah.
NASCAR drivers, they've got everything on the wall. It's the
Right.
exact same thing with whales. More often than not, they have everything that they want in their life,
Right.
except for that next trophy. That thing that they haven't overcome yet, the thing that they haven't conquered.
That one thing that they haven't achieved yet.
And so that's how you can sell to massive whale clients, is giving them the thing that they maybe don't have. And sometimes it's hard to find that thing.
Right.
But once you figure it out, and once you figure out how to position your thing as something maybe they don't have, usually it's just a little bit of like wording that you can change.
Interesting.
So let's huge.
So let's stay on that topic for a little bit, right? So like any sales, I don't care what you're selling, everybody that's in sales is waiting for that one whale, right? They're like, man, I want to get that big client, right? It doesn't matter if you're selling fidget spinners, right? Like if you're selling 1, 2, 3 fidget spinners, eventually you're trying to find the guy that's going to buy 500,000 of them, and they're going to sell them in their 50 stores, or, a chain of whatever, right? In any product that is sold, there's always whale clients available, right? And that's where you're going to make your big bucks, right? You can make, $100 here, $50 there, $1,000 there, whatever. But the nice thing, and I think the most exciting thing about sales, at any point in time, you can close a deal that can change your whole life and your whole family's life forever, right? Like we're all one deal away from that. So
that's right.
You had mentioned trophies, right? So whales, whether it be big CEOs or multimillionaires or multi-billionaires, people that have achieved greatness, they've achieved a lot through their life. That's how they've got to where they're at. They're looking for the next trophy, right? So, let's say, for example, you're selling something new. It's a new product, a new, whatever. Is it just as simple as saying, hey, we know your company hasn't, or we know you guys haven't achieved this yet. Here's how we're able to help you achieve that, and imagine what the press is going to say about it. Is it that simple, or is it, do you really need to, I guess, complicate things and be more salesy about it?
I'll say it depends on how adept you are. I'd say one of the biggest skills, if you're really going for the whale clients, that you can learn is profiling people, because that will tell you how complicated or not complicated your process needs to be.
Right. If I'm understanding who they are.
Exactly. If I'm to look at somebody, I can look at like what you're wearing, the way that you talk, et cetera, and see exactly what you want out of life and what you want out of a social interaction, how you want other people to view you, what your needs are, what your goals are, et cetera, what you're most afraid of as well. And so if you're able to do that, right, then, I mean, the process gets a lot simpler, right? There's a lot less variables. That's essentially what you're doing. You're eliminating variables from the conversation and just focusing on what you know this person will want and what they don't want. Versus if you don't know how to do that, then you're going to have to test a few different things. Maybe, send them a gift here and there, or like, try to get in some sort of a side door into their office, whatever it might be. But I'd say if you can learn the skill of profiling people, then that will solve 99% of your problems in terms of how do you actually open the conversation.
100%. And nowadays it's so much easier to do that, especially if they have like a social media presence, right? Like you can, some people are a lot shyer than others, right? Like I'd post 3-4 videos every single day, right? So people can figure me out pretty quickly, with just a couple hours of going through some of my videos, right? But I think pretty much everybody has some sort of a social media, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you can get that science down, and really get to learn people, do you think that's more learning more about psychology and what makes people tick? Or is that again back into sales? We've talked about learning and mentors and things like that. Is that something that you should be focused on, sales training and books, or is that more of the psychological side of things?
Well, you pose them as two different things, and I don't think that they are, to be
Okay.
honest.
Yeah. True.
Psychology is learning how the brain works, and
Agreed.
sales is then using those learnings to
Agreed.
get a certain outcome, right? So
Absolutely.
personally, I view all of it as the same.
Yeah.
I'll tell you one of the guys that I've learned a lot from. His name is Chase Hughes. He's a
Yep.
military interrogator, ex-military
Yeah. I
interrogator.
actually have one of his books.
Yeah, he's amazing. And so, just talking about like even the profiling bit, he talks about masks and the masks that everybody wears. Right?
Right.
You've got significance, acceptance, something else, and then you've got intelligence, pity, and power. And so you can very quickly see like what somebody is, and then like all that sales is aligning. I hate the word pitch personally.
Yeah.
Everybody views a sales pitch like pitch me, what's my pitch going to be, my presentation, etc.
Right.
I personally in my training call it the connection phase.
Yeah.
Because all that you're doing, it's like your product or service, your company, whatever you do is set. Like that's done.
Yeah.
What this person wants and what they don't want, that's set. That's done.
Yeah.
Like there's no manipulating
Right.
that.
Now
Those
it's just
are two separate
connecting the
entities.
two and
Exactly.
do you have this problem? Does this solve your problem? If so, let's move
and
forward.
just framing it as something that can solve that thing,
Right.
That's a really big key, I think, as well. If you can learn the skill of profiling and you can learn the skill of framing, anything in life can be framed and argued from both sides.
100%.
Right? Literally anything. I heard an argument the other day that like murder is good. Right? Sounds crazy, right?
Right.
Crazy. Like obviously everybody knows that like taking a life is terrible. Never, like pretty worldwide known thing, right? But why do we still have the death penalty?
Yeah. 100%.
Right? Some people might argue that like,
I mean, you can sell any viewpoint, right? Like
exactly.
Death is good. If this guy touched a bunch of kids, like, come on, death is good for that person, right?
KIP, yeah. 100%.
There's a way to sell everything for sure.
So as long as you learn how to profile and then you can align the things that you do and you can frame them as how they can help that person achieve their goals or stop this pain or stop this problem from happening, then that's the sale. Like it's done. Finito. Easy.
Yeah. Absolutely, man. Would you say that most people overcomplicate sales?
Yes.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I mean, it's, selling is just the art of persuasion at the end of the day, right? Like, I think a lot of people don't realize, I hire a lot of guys that haven't had a typical sales job before, but they're a salesperson. And like when I point it out to them in the interview, they're like, I'm not a salesperson. Well, yeah, you are. Right.
Everybody is in sales.
Yeah. Like when you take your husband, when you guys go out to dinner, like you're always picking the place. You're always convincing him what place to go to dinner. Like you're the salesperson in the relationship. You know what I mean? Like,
and I think anybody that is worth their salt in business knows the line, your network is your net worth, right?
100%.
And anything worth doing in life takes a tribe. It takes other people. Like there's no one person. Elon Musk, as amazing as he is, as small of a staff as he has, he still doesn't do it himself. Right. And so because you need other people, the biggest skill, the biggest predictor of success in human history is the ability to communicate your ideas to other people. Because all ideas start in the head. But eventually they have to make it out into the real world. And eventually they have to make it out to other people. Yeah. And so if you don't have other people, then you won't win. And if you're not able to communicate that idea to other people in a way that sells them, that influences them, that persuades them to buy into the idea, that buy in the mission. Like if you're a manager, you're a salesperson. If you are a teacher, you're a salesperson. If you're a firefighter trying to get people out of the house,
if you're a
you are a
bartender, a
salesperson.
waiter, I mean, there's
Everybody.
every
If you're a
human
parent,
interaction, there's a sale being made.
100%. I'm a husband, so I'm a salesperson all the time, right? That's how I got such a hot wife.
Right? Like, yeah, 100%.
You can tell how good of a salesperson someone is by how hot their wife is, guaranteed.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. It's so true. So now there's two things in sales, right? You've got the communication, but you also got the attitude. Which would you say is more important, right? Like, obviously you can say yes, both are very important. Is it what you say? Is it how you say it? Is it your attitude, how you say it? Which one do you think is the most important piece? I personally think that your attitude is the number one. But I just like to, know your take on it and what your thoughts are.
If you're listening to this, write this one down and tell it to anybody that you know that struggles with this. Attitude dictates results. 100%.
100%.
Attitude dictates results. Because I'm living proof. I am not a natural salesperson. I'm an introvert. I fucking hate people, honestly. I would rather just like sit in my room and be alone all day, every day. Right. And so if I can learn the skills,
right,
then anybody can.
Yeah.
But the thing that leads to like the drive, the ambition, the hard work, the ethic, the time, the energy, the commitment, the consistency in order to learn a skill and actually get good at something, to be able to say the right words, to be able to say things the right way, to be able to frame, to profile, that all comes from your attitude. And if you 100%. Have a bad attitude, then that is forever what your results will be. It's just plain bad.
Yeah, my best sales rep never sold a thing ever before in her life, but she has the best attitude all the time. She has every reason not to have a great attitude, but no matter what is going on, like she could be having her worst month ever. She could, there's just, her dogs could have just died. It doesn't matter. When she's talking to somebody, she's got a hell of an attitude, and people are constantly saying it, right? Like if somebody's listening or watching this and people are constantly telling you how great of an attitude you are and you're not in sales, get in sales right now, because attitude is everything, right? Attitude can't really be taught, right? Like you can't teach people to always be positive or always have a good attitude, right? Like I feel like once you're, an adult, like your attitude, however your attitude is, that's how it is. You know what I mean? Like there's no changing that.
I will challenge that just a little bit, because yes, there will be like little mindsets that you take throughout your life.
Yeah.
But human beings are the most adaptable creatures on planet Earth.
True.
Right? We've maybe not the most adaptable compared to some animals, but like the human body thrives on adapting. When there's adversity, when there's something coming up against it, it will move mountains in order to win and grow back stronger, right?
Yeah.
In order to grow a muscle, you have to first tear it, literally break down the muscle fibers in order for it to come back stronger. Yeah. And so the human body and the brain will adapt, but also something with attitude is it's something that you are born with, yes, but then also the right environment will foster it. If you put somebody, let's take, a classic sales example that I use all the time as an analogy is fit versus fat, right? If you're listening to this, definitely write this down. So fit versus fat is fat. Yeah. So if you put a fit person and a fat person next to each other, right?
Yeah.
And let's just hypothetically like take out their brains and you swap them, right?
Yeah.
So the fat person's brain is now in the fit person's body.
Yeah.
What eventually is going to happen to that fat person's body if you put the fit brain in the fat body? The fat body is going to become fit because it's just who the person is. Yeah. And then if you do the opposite, the same happens. So if you're able to just like put even just a fat person in a group of fit people and all their friends are fit. Yeah. And everybody goes out all the time. They're going to the gym. They're hanging out there. That's all they talk about, et cetera. Like, you can bet worth a darn that person's eventually going to get at least a little bit fitter. Right. Yeah. And their 100%. Attitude's going to change around that thing.
Absolutely.
And so it's one of those classic things like, show me your 5 closest friends and I'll show you your future. Yeah, right.
Exactly.
So it's a really big deal. If you're able to just put yourself in an environment of people who have a better attitude,
Right.
then that will completely change your world because,
100%.
like I
And,
said, attitude dictates
in
results.
this day and age, you bring up a great point, but like in this day and age, it doesn't even have to be like people in your, so like for me, especially when I started this company, like there was nobody I knew that was anywhere where I wanted to be. Right. So like,
Yeah.
I just didn't spend time with anybody. I'd spent my time watching Grant Cardone videos and and Tony Robbins and reading books, and like that's where I spent my time on mentorship calls with Brandon Dawson, and like it doesn't always have to be
Yep.
like the guys that you go out with every Friday night, but like if the information that you're putting into your body and that you're allowing into your brain, right, like that needs to be
Yes.
the top of the top, the cream of the
Yeah.
crop. Otherwise, like you said, if all of your time is spent around people that all they do is gossip and talk trash, and
100%.
they're drinking all the time, and they're not really doing anything with their lives, like that's what your life's going to be like, right?
Yep. And like you
So I
said,
just wanted to make that a point, because there are people out there that just like, I don't know any winners, right? Like, like
but that's the
eventually you
thing.
will, but like,
Like
I think
what you
starting
said
out.
though is like so true. So I'm sure you've read Think and Grow Rich, and if anybody
Yes.
hasn't, like
Yeah.
highly recommend it, by
Yep.
Napoleon Hill. There's a chapter in there about like the council of advisors, or he calls it something different. But
Mm-hmm.
basically, even if you don't have anybody around you, that's where you want to be. Even if you don't have anybody around you that has the attitude that you want to have, even if you can't surround yourself with those people physically, you can create a council of advisors in your brain, because remember, everything that happens internally manifests into the outside world, right?
Right.
Just like attitude dictates results,
Yep.
same exact thing. And so what you can do is you can create a council of advisors inside yourself, and imagine like Abraham Lincoln or Napoleon Hill or Neville Goddard or Russell Brunson or whoever on this
Right.
council of advisors, and bring yourself into their presence all the time. Bring
Yeah.
ideas to them. Like they're your board, they're your
Yep.
council. And if you just honestly just think about what they would say, then
Right.
you are literally
What would they
surrounding
say? What
yourself
would
with
they
those
do?
people.
Right. You got to
Yeah.
immerse yourself with that knowledge, right? Like it's,
Mm-hmm.
when I first got into sales, it was, ABC, always be closing, always be closing, always be closing. Well, one of my sales managers, it was ABL, always be learning, always be learning, always be learning, always be learning, right? Like Zig Ziglar said it, like you will never be at your best. You will never know everything. You will never be the
100%.
best salesperson, because if you think you are, then you're just not there, right?
It's when
Like
you
you can
lose.
always get better. You can always sell more. You can always close at a better closing ratio. Whatever it may
Yep.
be. And if you constantly learn, you constantly grow and adapt. Like you're just going to get better and better and better. But I want to find out a little bit more. Like I'm loving this conversation. I could literally talk about it for hours and hours and hours. And I'm excited, honestly, for after this, because I want to get your take on some things within our sales process, and the profiling side of things, and see how you can help me. So for our viewers and listeners out there, like, can you go over a little bit about, one, how people can reach out to you, but two, like what different things you can help people out with, and what that process kind of looks like when they reach out to you?
Well, I'll go over the best way to reach out to me first is www.thesalesdojo.co slash
thesalesdojo.co.
thesalesdojo.co/Versa, right? For
Awesome. And
Versa
I'll make sure
Visible.
I
So
include the link in the description so people can just click on it.
awesome. And on there, I've actually put in the three biggest things that I found that people need the most help with. Number one is turning a no into yes, right? No's usually come up as they're typically called like objections, right? So
Yep.
how to handle objections through the objection handling roadmap. It's very, very simple. Number two is then the success mindsets for sales. Very easy document to go through on different mindsets that you need to have, like attitude dictates results, like surround yourself with the right people, et cetera, et cetera. If you just follow those things to a T each day, you're going to be in a remarkably better place a year down the road than you are today,
Oh, yeah.
100% guaranteed. And then number three is if you decide that you do need a community to surround yourself with, people with the right attitude, to learn influence, to learn how to profile, all these sorts of things, and more of a coaching sort of environment, then you can join the Sales Dojo as well.
Awesome. Awesome. So, um, from there, like I assume you offer like one-on-one coaching, or is it?
It's very rare that I do one-on-one coaching.
Okay.
It's not accessible for a lot of people just financially, honestly.
Yeah.
But in the Sales Dojo, you do get access to me and my own coaching staff.
Great.
Even my own mentor is in there, so you get to
Awesome.
learn from people that have coached me. So
Very
it's a
cool.
really cool place. So if you are like really wanting to learn stuff, I would recommend hopping in there. It's
Definitely.
literally the price of like a couple coffees each week.
Right.
It's absurd, and you can do a free trial as well, so you can check
Very
it out.
cool. Very cool. Awesome, man. So, you've got turning no into yes. So the objection handling guide.
Yep.
You've got the
The success mindset principles.
yes, the success mindset principle, and then we can also get a free trial for the Sales Dojo that
Yep.
has the sales trainings and the coaching and all that stuff on there as well.
Yep. 100%.
Very
It's all
cool,
on that
brother.
link.
Awesome, man. Looking forward to it. I'm gonna check that out after this. And dude, I can't wait to talk to you again further down the road and learn more from you, man. Keep rocking it out.
Likewise. We'll chat
Thank you,
soon.
brother.